Are you thinking about moving to Weston, Massachusetts? Today, I'll be talking about what it's like to live in Weston, including real estate, life, and more. One of my first videos was about the pros and cons of living in Weston, and today we're going to take a deeper dive into what makes it a really special place to live. We'll be talking about real estate, things to do. We're going to talk about private schools and the culture and other things you might not know just from Googling. My name is Jane, and I'm a realtor based in Wellesley, Massachusetts. My channel is about what it's like to live and work in Greater Boston in all of the Boston suburbs. If you're thinking about moving here, reach out as I'd love to help or answer any questions you might have. And remember to subscribe as I release a new video each week, sharing fun facts, information that will be helpful to you in your home search and moving here. First, we're going to talk about schools. For the public schools, Boston Magazine currently ranks Weston High School as #1. They are perennial top 10 for their public schools. In niche.com, you'll see they're consistently getting an A+ rating. And I've mentioned before, I like to look at Boston Magazine because it shows how the Boston suburbs jockey for #1 position. Some of the schools that are nearby are Dana Hall, which is a girls' boarding and day school for middle and high school. It's actually in Wellesley Center. And the Chapel Hill Chauncey Hill School is a beautiful campus. I know they have programs there for kids with some learning differences. So right in Weston is the Rivers School. So when my son was in elementary school, he used to take saxophone lessons there after school. The private school has a separate conservatory, so there are kids focusing on music there, and there are tons of kids from neighboring towns who take advantage of those really talented teachers that give private lessons after school, like we did. In addition to being strong in music, they have an excellent athletics program. They have both a middle and a high school. Another really cool school where I remember checking out for my son when he was going to daycare when he was very little. They had a really fun daycare. It didn't actually work out for my schedule because they actually catered to stay-home moms who could pick their kids up at 2, and I wasn't at the time, but a really terrific program. They are a boarding and day high school with an alternative schedule. They have something called the mod. So every student there can customize their own curriculum and schedule. So no two students are taking the identical classes. Very cool. I have a good friend whose son is going there. He's graduating this year. He's had a great experience. He's a really cool kid, and it's a very interesting place. Kind of an alternative vibe there. So let's talk about real estate. I mentioned in my first video about pros and cons of living in Weston that Weston has the highest property taxes in the state. Now that is not because the tax rate is high, it is because the home values are high. So right now, Weston has 37 homes on the market, and 5 of the active listings are under $2 million. 17 of those 37 are over $5 million. So this is not to say that there are not homes that come on the market under $2 million. But what you'll find is that they tend to move a lot quicker than those more expensive homes. Lower price, wider pool of buyers, hence fewer days on market. So right now, if you look at what's pending or under contract, which means it hasn't accepted offer but hasn't closed yet. So there's 8 homes right now that are under contract under $2 million, but 2 of them over $5 million. So the very high-end market is still pretty strong, and the under $2 million market is typically always strong in Weston. So let's talk about some basics that you'll need to know. So Weston is a town of about 12,000, and it has really great proximity to Boston. So you'll see a lot of people that are living in these high-end homes that want to drive their nice car to work. So it's super easy to jump on the Mass Pike and get downtown. My brother-in-law, who was in finance, used to say that he could get there in 20 minutes if he left at 7:15. That might have been a little bit of a stretch. I also have had some clients that chose to buy where they could walk to the commuter rail just to enhance their quality of life. And I had another guy in finance that wanted to live near the Weston, walkable distance to the Weston train station, which takes him on the commuter rail to North Station, because only in Boston would we have a North Station and a South Station commuter rail station that do not connect. It's possible, but you got to get off the commuter rail, get on the T and take the T over to the other, or walk. So it's important to know where your office is, which train station is going to be best for you if you are considering a commuter rail commute. So when I think of Weston, I think of a rural vibe. It's like a Greenwich, Connecticut, in that it's got some large lots and a really quaint downtown center, but you are just minutes away from excellent shopping in Natick at the Natick Mall and fabulous restaurants in Wellesley and also the city of Waltham. Waltham is a grittier city with a larger population, tons of restaurants with all different types of food, and that's an easy jump from Weston to Waltham. When my kids were young, we actually belonged to the Weston Town Pool. So again, there's a great public pool. It's outdoors. It had a lot of shady space, but I was able to get a pass there because a lot of people who live in Weston, some are in Nantucket, or maybe they go to the club and swim there. So there was room for us Wellesley kids to come and swim in Weston. There's a lot of community events. It's a community that shows up for things like the 4th of July parade, the Memorial Day parade, and actively support community endeavors, some historic buildings in the center of town, which you should check out my pros and cons video to hear more about that. So I'm going to tell you a real estate story. So it was March of 2023, and I have this delightful family that's relocated here and are in corporate housing, and they have been looking for a house in Wellesley, in Weston, or in Lexington. Under 1.8 is where they'd like to be. So this really cool deck house came on the market in Weston. As you can see, it's super cool, contemporary. It had this awesome kitchen with the vaulted ceiling and the natural wood. And you do over here in the kitchen have a seasonal view of None Such Pond. It's also right next to the Rivers School. So people went nuts for this house. There were about 75 parties came through on that weekend, and people were doing pre-inspections. So in this era of multiple offers, one of the ways we help our buyers stay competitive is we encourage them to hire an inspector to do a pre-inspection, which is something you normally do after your offer is accepted. So this way, when you write your offer, you can waive your inspection contingency, but have the comfort and knowledge of what you need to know about the particular house. So I have a couple inspectors that I call on a dime and say, hey, can you come today or can you come tomorrow? Some sellers don't like to let you do them, and some realtors don't like it when you do that on their listing. So this particular inspector had been to this house 3 times to do inspections for 3 different people. So now I know that there's other people waiving their inspection. So they ended up getting 20 offers. So my buyer ended up, there were multiple rounds, and my buyer ended up being the second highest bid. And the highest bid, the people came in on the last round, where normally people go up just a little bit on the last round. They went up another $100,000. So at that point, my buyers are like, yeah, we're out. So it went about 20, let's see, let me do the math because it hasn't closed yet. It went several $100,000 over asking. So it was a tough loss for my people because this house was a little unusual. But then I had a conversation with the listing broker who I'm very friendly with. And she said, I didn't think I overpriced it. She said, it's on a well. It has this older septic system that's past inspection. It's right next to rivers. So you have some noise from the field. You have traffic from people going to the athletic fields. You have to walk down this little narrow lane to get on the public school bus. And also in the distance, you can hear the Mass Turnpike, the hum of traffic. So it's an example of how challenging it can be to price sometimes and how challenging this market can be for buyers. So if you're thinking about moving to Weston or any of the other towns in Greater Boston, please reach out as I'd be happy to help. And I can share with you some of my strategies of how my buyers can be competitive in whatever price range you're shopping in and whatever town has piqued your interest. Thanks again for watching, and remember to subscribe to catch my next video.